For overtime overseas, Jane, does the U.S. do more harm or good with its drone policy?
The use of domestic drones is doing a lot of harm, by the way.
Domestic? I don't think that's what the question's
I know,
about.
but let me go to both parts.
We're not really killing people with the domestic.
That's a possibility. I think it's really out of control, and we're going to shred our Fourth Amendment. You heard it here. The use of drones internationally is a mixed bag, and we should reduce the use of drones. And our foreign policy should be much more about economic trade and aid and helping educate people all over the world so they have opportunities.
On balance, and I was a supporter of the drone program, I believe today it is doing more harm than good overseas. The reason is because it's the sole tool, basically, of our war on terrorism. When we take out Al-Qaeda safe houses, we wind up taking out the spouses and the children. Hundreds, sometimes thousands of people have been killed over the years in places like Yemen and Somalia and Pakistan. And we generate this resentment from these populations for that. And we also lose valuable intelligence, because instead of capturing these guys and getting information out of them to prevent a future attack, we wind up vaporizing them. We vaporize them and their entire community.
So you would agree with what I was just saying? It's because we're there.
No.
If we weren't there, no? Should we be there?
It depends how we're there. America is
an empire. Were we supposed
No, we don't have an empire.
What? We don't have an empire?
We don't have an empire.
We're America before 9/11.
Putin may be building one. We're not.
Before 9/11.
We have troops in like 150 different countries in the world. Are you crazy? We have like 760 bases around the world.
No, and we've reduced our bases.
We have 50,000 troops in Germany. I think we got Hitler by now.
No, it's by 2013 there was no single American tank in Europe. And by the way, if you're praising Obama's, peace record, because of this weak policy now, he had no choice but to bring American soldiers, a small detachment, 100 soldiers, 10 tanks, at the Russian border. First time in my living memory. American troops are facing Russian troops in Estonia and Latvia because those small countries are NATO members. And by 2013, there were no American tanks in Europe at all.
Wake me when he takes Poland. Anyway, I mean, yes, we moved 100.
Are you making jokes about it?
Yes, obviously that was a joke.
Poles suffered from. I hope no Poles in the
It's
audience.
a comedy show, Gary. We make jokes about everything. If I have to watch out.
The Holocaust or
it's not about the Holocaust. You made it about the Holocaust.
But for Poles, it's tough.
For Poles, it's tough.
Millions of Poles have been killed by Russians and Germans.
Gary, shut up. This is a stupid thing to say. I'm sorry, I'm a big fan of yours. But to say that I was making a Holocaust joke when I said, wake me when Putin takes...
You said you make jokes about everything.
I do. But that was not a Holocaust joke. And I don't think I've ever made one.
Now's a good time for a motherfucker. That's how I feel like.
Good intervention.
Bill, to get to the end of the show there, when you talked about the Obama model versus the Bush model.
Right.
The 4-year anniversary of us getting bin Laden was fantastic. And yet, after that, President Obama said, Al-Qaeda's on the run. Al-Qaeda's been decimated. Wow. Look at Yemen, look at Somalia, look at Nigeria, look at what's going on throughout the Middle East. Terrorism is not on the run.
Yeah, but the whole thing started in 2003 when we should never have gotten into Iraq.
That may or may not be. I'm simply saying, no. But we're celebrating a SEAL team operation that took out bin Laden as though that is the strategy that can solve our problems around the world. That's the model.
And
I think
it didn't
absurd.
start in 2003. There were attacks on the coal, and there were attacks around the Middle East in the 90s. And we didn't see the signals. And it's not all our fault. That's right.
I think what we were saying there is that the model of going after terrorism as a law enforcement and spy agency issue as opposed to sending invading armies into Arab lands is the model.
Let me say two
And by the way, that is the model because Iraq didn't make us safer in any way. Every time we've stopped a terrorist attack, it's because they did some good police work.
We were able to get bin Laden for 2 reasons. One, we captured a lot of bad guys and got information out of them in ways that made people like you uncomfortable. And second of all, we had a presence in the Middle East.
You're saying that like like a fact, and it is hardly a fact.
I'm happy to debate it with you, and we had a presence in the Middle East that got us a lot of human intelligence. The cumulative effect with which allows us to do a lot lot of things like the bin Laden operation. It's not like we just send a team in and they go and knock the guy off and they get out.
We've secured democracy for the Middle East after that 2003. Was that the great victory?
Of course we didn't do that. And
of course we did. And a lot of people
believed
died.
the intelligence on Iraq. I did. And I was wrong. And going into Iraq was wrong. But we've done a lot of things right. Getting bin Laden was right.
Let's look at three countries. There's Iraq, where we went in big, and it's a mess. There's Syria, where we actually deliberately stayed out of it, starting in 2011. There's chemical weapons being used against Syrians. Hundreds of thousands of people are dead. More than 1 million are displaced. There's Libya, where we went in and got right out and left it open, and now it's completely being taken over by militant Islamists. So the idea that just going into Iraq is a model for disaster is absurd. There are places where we haven't engaged at all that are on fire right now.
But it didn't cost us American lives and trillions of dollars. There's always going to be places in the world that are on fire.
Yeah, but we're arguing two different things. I'm simply saying, what Joe is saying is, we went in and we got a mess. And I'm saying, we went in and there's a mess there. There are places we haven't touched, and there are even more of a mess.
But don't you think that the people in the Middle East have to have a war amongst themselves? Some of them want to live in the 21st century.
They are right now.
And some of them want to live in the 7th century.
Yeah, you know what?
And they need to have that out. That's Mayflower Pacquiao.
Let me tell you something. It is happening. Look what's happening in Yemen right now. All right? It's basically a Shiite-Sunni proxy war.
Sure.
You have the Saudis arming one side and you have the Iranians arming the other. Well, guess what? President Obama just signed this framework agreement with Iran that will give Iran a nuclear program. We can debate how quickly it'll lead to a nuclear bomb. Let me finish. But they got a nuclear program. The Saudis are already saying, all right, well, if the Iranians get one, we get one. And the Qataris are saying the same thing. And the Egyptians and the Turks aren't going to be far behind. So you want that Sunni Shiite civil war in the region? Fine. Guess what? It's about to be thrown in, a nuclear arms race is about to be thrown into the mix when all these countries want to do Me Too.
That's a lot of leaps you're taking.
It's not a leap. They're saying that right now. The Saudis are saying right now.
You leapt from Obama's Iran treaty to Iran has a nuclear weapon.
No.
And now Saudis and
I'm
Turkey.
leaping from Obama's announcement of his deal to what the Saudis and the Qataris are saying in response now. They're saying if you're going to legitimize Iran's nuclear program, we get one too.
But he's not legitimizing it.
How is he not? He's saying they can keep their nuclear program.
No, he's program.
Yes,
not nuclear weapons.
Right. Nuclear program.
Right. And so the Saudis are saying, great, we get one too.
Okay, but a nuclear program is not nuclear weapons.
And it quickly, with a little bit of R&D, becomes a nuclear weapon.
It will much more quickly become one if we don't have the inspectors in there.
I agree.
When the first time United States president raised the issue about Iranian nuclear program, it was Bill Clinton in 1995 asking Boris Yeltsin to stop supplying Iran with Russian nuclear technology.
That's right.
Yeltsin gave a very vague promise, and Clinton hasn't pushed him. 20 years ago, American president already knew about the potential problem, but again, we are here we are.
Congress tried to block that. We did try, and Clinton vetoed it, as I remember.
Bill,
and I think we passed it over his veto.
You said something that I'm shocked to believe I kind of agree with you on. Okay, it's like I'm hallucinating here. But you said wouldn't it be great if we had inspectors in there to prevent Iran from getting its breakout nuclear weapons capability? I completely agree. The problem is the Iranians don't agree. Right? The commander, hold on. The commander of the Revolutionary Guard Corps in Iran has said you cannot inspect military facilities in Iran.
Yeah, that's to win his base. That's the Tea Party of Iran.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that's what the final deal is, and you know that.
You tell me what the deal is. The moment the U.S. came out,
let them make it, maybe they would.
Well, the moment the U.S. came out, the P5+1 came out with its interim agreement. The foreign minister of Iran said that fact sheet is spin. It's
Yeah,
not real.
well-
The supreme leader of Iran said sanctions will be removed right away, not the way President Obama is saying.
Let's go back to
so,
this.
Okay,
So
yes.
there's
Yeah,
there's like a Persian version of this document, and then there's an American version of this document, and they're not
the deal
in sync.
isn't cut. And if
All right.
there is no deal, the other 5 of the P5+1 are going to walk away from the sanctions and trade with Iran, and there will be an arms race in the Middle East. And the hope is that it will be a good enough deal, and we'll all stick together. And one of the other beneficiaries of a good enough deal, even though they don't see it that way yet, is Israel.
I would love a good deal. I do not think this is a good deal. And I think we could get a better deal. This deal was negotiated when Iran's economy was strangled, and oil was being traded at $100 a barrel. Today it's
Right.
under $50
That's
a
the
barrel.
only
They're under
reason
more
at the
economic
table is
pressure. We
because
can
of the
negotiate it.
sanctions.
All right.
I don't think so.
Yes, Daniel Hughley.
Isn't hearing somebody who was so wrong about a war lecture you about what's going on now, like Kim Kardashian telling you how to be a wife? It's kind of like that. Like it's like. I just know that there's so many mistakes were made, and they were argued just like with so many points and facts and figures, and it was so wrong-headed that we will suffer for that for decades. And how are you so? You all speak with such certainty, and if you were right, then we wouldn't be in the situation we are in now.
Well, I mean, I could ask you the same question I asked Professor Stiglitz out there. I mean, $60 billion was the estimate from Rumsfeld and George Bush, and it's costed over $4 trillion.
Yeah.
What else can you be that wrong about? Where else can you be even close to that wrong?
You can say we've won the war against Al Qaeda when we haven't.
Well,
Is that really
That's a big
comparable?
deal. It's a big deal. I don't know if it's comparable. It's a big deal.
Wow.
But you know that it's not comparable.
No.
It's so
Yeah,
not
that-
comparable.
that's-
Big deal.
It's just what he said. It's not money. It's not lives. It's just the guy.
It actually is lives.
No,
It's
no.
the-
What's
millions
going
of
on in
people-
Syria?
No, but we moved.
They don't think this war is over. Hundreds of thousands of people
Yeah.
slaughtered.
You're just,
Chemical
you're
weapons?
just arguing the red team. It's not really realistic.
What do you mean?
I mean, this is your team. This is what's wrong with
No, but
America.
what-
Nobody ever argues the truth.
No, hold on.
This is my team.
No, Bill.
So I
Hold on.
I have the red flag behind me.
Not true.
So I argue the red position.
Hey, I'm the first to admit, because I saw it firsthand, that our country and the Bush administration made huge mistakes, huge in the Gulf War. I mean, huge. So, and I was advocating for things, and others who were working with me were advocating for things that frustratingly our government didn't do to fix things, all right? We finally did turn things around gradually, but to suggest that this is just some partisan talking point is a little absurd.
But to suggest that it's equally a mistake to send thousands of people to their death, cost trillions of dollars, with a president prematurely saying that this one terrorist group is on the run when
I'm
they're
simply
not,
saying
is just absurd.
Well,
It's absurd. And you know that it's absurd.
but
Jane's not on the red team, so
I take your, well,
a little bit.
I'm trying to get these things, trying to help get these things right. I think it's a dangerous world. I agree with what Gary said about Putin. I think if people don't stand up to Putin, what lesson are we not learning? We have to stand up to Putin, and we have to figure out a way to
how
help.
are we standing up to Putin?
Sanction.
With massive
As
sanctions
opposed
against
to
him.
what?
What? As
Bombing
opposed
him?
to what?
What about
What
arming
kind of
Ukrainian
Well-
troops? What about giving lethal weapons to the Ukrainian
It's
army?
not clear that that won't cause more harm.
Congress
than the
and Senate almost
Iranian.
unanimously supported. You know, almost all Democrats, and Republicans support arming Ukraine. By the way, in 1994, under pressure from Bill Clinton, Ukraine has been disarmed. Ukraine had the third largest nuclear arsenal in the world, bigger than China, France, and UK combined. U.S. demanded this arsenal to be dismantled. UK gave it up for the guarantees of its territorial integrity. It's a signature of U.S. president and, by the way, UK prime minister. I mean, you have to stand by your signature.
But would it be better if all the former Soviet republics had nuclear weapons in them? If Kazakhstan had them? Is that what
It
you're
was
saying?
a good idea that they did it, but there were guarantees in exchange for removing them back to Russia.
Okay. Well,
Well, I take your point seriously. Why can anybody here talk with certainty about what should happen in the world?
No such certainty. Like it's so absolute here.
I don't think there are any. I think there are the least bad options in a lot of these places.
Correct.
There are no
I agree with
good
that.
options,
Yes.
and figuring out a way forward is important. But this is a point that where maybe we disagree, Bill. I think withdrawing from all this and letting them all fight it out and seeing where it ends up is not something we should do. I think America's responsibility.
They
I don't
want
agree
to fight
with
it
that.
out with each other, but we should get in the middle so they have a common
here
enemy.
would be my comment.
It's just
I think
crazy.
we should. I mean, we are not the indispensable power. We're the indispensable partner in the world. We have wealth. We have history.
Maybe we should stop thinking of ourselves as so fucking indispensable. You know what?
I don't agree.
Maybe we're not that indispensable.
I think American
maybe we should
leadership
stop patting
matters.
ourselves on the back.
I don't think we should pat
Nobody
ourselves
can
on
get
the back. I don't think our
But that's
history
what
is
it
that
is.
beautiful.
We're always the most exceptional.
I
We're
don't
the most
think we should
indispensable.
withdraw.
Nobody can live without us. Maybe they can.
Structure better.
Maybe they
better
can live
ways.
without us.
But millions of people are willing to enter America. Why?
What's that?
Yeah.
Why tens of millions of people in the world are trying to enter the United States?
I'm not saying other countries aren't bigger shitholes. I'm saying, why do we have to go there?
I think our influence would be a lot greater if we actually fixed America more.
Right.
And
I
if
think we should do
took
that too.
money
That was
and
my
invested
original
it in our
question.
people.
Opportunity
That's
cost.
That's his question.
What if we
That's-
took that $4 trillion and just the infrastructure? Our country is crumbling.
Do you believe it would go to infrastructure or stock markets?
Well, we have a choice. We have a choice.
Yeah,
Yes,
choice.
our
Look at New
political
York
system.
infrastructure.
Our political system hasn't been working the right way, and that's partly because of the Republicans. But
Really? You know what's interesting, Joe? You know what's interesting, Joe? That it's the Democratic White House that feels so strongly about maintaining a federal guarantee for our big investment banks. And so if they ever implode again, the taxpayers have to bail them out. And I am for completely untangling that guarantee, and a lot of Republicans are.
I agree with you on that. I mean, that was a big mistake, the way we bailed out the banks. We had to save the banks, but we didn't have to save the bankers, the shareholders, and the bondholders.
So who is holding that all together today?
That's right.
Hold on. It's not Republicans in the White House who are holding all that
But
together
wait a
today.
second.
They are investment banking lobbyists that are very close to this administration that
And
are
it's
making
bec-
sure
it's-
that
and
guarantee
it's-
stays in
and
place.
it's
But can I
because
get
of the
back to
Supreme Court
infrastructure?
decisions like
Fixing
Citizens
infrastructure
United.
is a no-brainer.
Is a
We should do
no-brainer.
it.
And let's be honest, when Obama was trying to get the economy back on its feet, he begged the Republican Congress to spend some money on infrastructure. He said, look, we have millions of people out of work. They could fix this
great
bridge.
idea.
Come on.
It's
Bill,
an
and we can
easy
borrow it
fix.
and make
Why
it a
don't-
real
He
interest
had
rate.
control of the Congress in the first 2 years of administration.
no,
Hold
he
on.
didn't. No,
Yes,
he
he
didn't.
did.
He
Yes,
did.
He did. He had
He did.
majorities in the House and the Senate.
Yes.
And he got a stimulus, $1 trillion stimulus passed.
Right.
He got Dodd-Frank passed, which has a too big to fail guarantee built in to protect the investment banks. He got Obamacare passed. He got a bunch of things passed. So why didn't he push exactly what you're saying?
Well, he was working on those first. You're correct. And a lot of people said he should work on the economy first. And he said, you know what? America is
Economy
waiting.
is infrastructure.
What's this?
It's infrastructure, you know. The last
Should do.
construction on the East River in New York was in 1909.
Right. We're agreeing.
Shocking.
I think we all agree. Yes. Yes, on that.
And if people go across that bridge and they die, it'll be a Holocaust. Oh, Gary, I'm so I didn't mean it that way. Okay, so my point is, yes, a lot of people said he should work on the economy first. And I think what he was saying is our healthcare system is the economy. And it is, because we have been, that was, everybody agreed before he did health care. Everybody agreed that this is a thing that's going to break the budget. Remember where the curve was going? Now we have Obamacare and it bended the curve. And we're not going to go broke because that, but I never bought that argument. I don't know about what you think about this, Professor. I never bought that argument that by doing healthcare, he wasn't doing the economy. By doing healthcare, he was doing the economy.
But there's more people
no,
on food stamps than there were when Obama came to
Yeah.
power.
No,
There are
but
more people dropping out of the labor force
That was
than when he
because
came into power.
there was 30 years of deregulation, and it was bipartisan, but there were 30 years of mistaken policies that began under Reagan, but got worse and worse and worse. And the result of that is, in 2008, we had a...
You just for the audience, just be very clear. It was also Bill Clinton and Barack
that's
Obama.
right.
Just
It
they're only
was-
applauding when
it-
you mention Reagan. I just want to make sure they know that Clinton
And the economy went into the deepest downturn that we've had in 80 years. And we pulled back now, but it wasn't done as well as it could have been if we had the right investment. But it would have been a lot, I think he had hoped that if the economy didn't turn around when it came to 2011, we would have another dose. I thought that was a political misjudgment. In 2011, he no longer controlled Congress. He couldn't get the second dose that the economy needed of stimulus, and that's why we've had a lingering recovery with 91% of the benefits going to the upper 1%. But it was a problem that was presented to him, unfortunately, in 2008.
All right, I think everyone's talked out. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen.